Okay, a very good evening to you guys. How are you? My name is Kasita, and welcome to this other edition of our iTEP preparation classes. Today I have one question for you, and it's a very easy question. It is either yes or no. Are you practicing? Guys, are you practicing?
Yes, teacher.
Actively?
1 hour per day.
1 hour per day. Okay, that's good to start with. Yeah. Are you practicing, guys? Are you practicing, guys?
Yes, teacher.
Not really.
Guys, you have to practice. Let me tell you this,
Yes.
by the way. Let me explain to you the significance of practice. Practice is more important than being in class. Practice is more important than being in class. The most important time when you are preparing for any exam is the time you spend practicing alone. Why is it important to practice? The skills we give you in class in this session, you have to apply them in your practice. And here, we meet only 2 days in a week. You have 5 days to yourself. In those 5 days, use them to practice. I shared with you a website. It has activities in grammar, activities in reading. Are you using it, or you're just keeping it there? Guys, you have to practice. You have to practice. If you don't practice, okay, let me tell you something. Practicing is hard. Yeah, it's really hard because the exam is hard. I can understand that. But getting 0 in the exam is harder. Practicing is not a very good experience because the process is hard, it is tiring. However, you can get something. There is a possibility to celebrate. If you don't practice, my friends, you're gonna face a very difficult time in the exam. Why? Everything will be, okay, not new, but you have no idea. Start practicing, guys. Start practicing. It is not too late. Start practicing. And something else you need to know. This is our 3rd week. So after next week, I really advise you guys to do a diagnostic test. Okay? Do a diagnostic test. Someone told me it is $10. Another person told me it is 15. I don't know the truth. But I have a contact of a person who works with iTEP. I can give you his contact. You communicate with him. After 1 month, you ask him and you do a diagnostic test and you evaluate yourself. How are you with grammar? How are you with listening? How are you with reading? Speaking and writing, they are not evaluated, but we can check it here together in class because they send the exam back to you. We can check it together and I give you my opinion, okay? But you will get your stand on grammar, listening, and reading. Now, that diagnostic test is going to disappoint you if you are not practicing, guys. Please practice. Every person you see who is good with any skill, it came from practice. Okay, this is my 2nd year in preparing students for international exams, and I really had a difficult time dealing with adults because you need to have a certain level of confidence to talk to adults. And now I think I'm confident enough to talk to adults. That comes with practice. Guys, you have to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Passing the exam is hard, but getting 0 is harder. So you have to choose. You have to choose either practicing or failing. The ball is in your hands. You can shoot it in the goal or throw it into the fans. So that is it, guys. You have to practice. Now, today we are going to look at another important skill. It is listening part 3. Last time you looked at listening part 1. What do we have in listening part 1, guys? What do we have in listening part 1?
4 short conversations.
Yeah, 4 short conversations. Then what do we have in listening part 2? What do we have in listening part 2, guys? Any idea? Any idea?
We have a long conversation that
Yes,
is
you have
2 or 3-minute conversation, and we have 4 questions about that.
Yeah, you have 1 long conversation. It is between 2 to 3 minutes, and you have 4 questions about it. Then finally, we have a lecture. Today we are going to look at a lecture. Many students say this is the most difficult question in listening. Why? Because it is very long. But before I explain anything about it, yeah, those are the listening types. We have 4 short conversations for multiple choice, 2 to 3 minute conversation. Then finally, we have a 4-minute lecture. So we are going to look at that lecture. Now, I'm going to, before I explain how we do it, how many questions, what, I'm going to play a lecture. I just want you to pay attention, okay? Just pay attention. People whose cameras are off, are you in class?
Yes, teacher.
How do I know that you are in class?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, how do I know that you are present, guys? I'm sure a majority, if not all, of you people are English teachers. And you know how a teacher feels when students don't turn on their cameras.
Okay.
Yeah. You really feel bad when your students are not turning on their cameras, and I'm feeling the way you feel. You have to look at people who you're interacting with. Okay, guys, I'm going to play a lecture. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to listen. Don't write. Don't. Okay, you can pay attention. You have to pay attention. Don't write anything. Just listen, and you get the idea about the question. Okay? Yeah, just pay attention and listen to this lecture. Okay, I'm gonna play it. Please pay attention.
Lecture in a paleontology class.
As we've discussed, birds are apparently descendants of dinosaurs and share many commonalities with some dinosaur species, like feathers and maybe even flight, and of course, egg laying. Okay, so many paleontologists, myself included, have wondered about other similar.
I'm playing it again, guys. Just pay attention. Don't write, just listen.
Listen to part of a lecture in a paleontology class.
As we've discussed, birds are apparently descendants of dinosaurs and share many commonalities with some dinosaur species, like feathers and maybe even flight, and of course, egg laying. Okay, so many paleontologists, myself included, have wondered about other similarities between dinosaurs and birds. Since adult dinosaur fossils have sometimes been discovered near or on top of nests, we've been looking into dinosaur parenting behavior.
Parenting behavior? Well, that sounds so gentle and caring, but dinosaurs were ferocious reptiles, and reptiles don't take care of their young, do they?
Well, some reptiles incubate their eggs. Crocodiles do. And as for popular attitudes towards dinosaurs, well, Take the oviraptor, for instance. In the 1920s, a paleontologist discovered the fossil remains of a small dinosaur near a nest containing eggs. He assumed the dinosaur was stealing the eggs, so he named it oviraptor. That means egg thief in Latin, which fueled the generally negative public image of such dinosaurs. But by the 1990s, other experts had convincingly made the case that instead of robbing the nest, the oviraptor was probably taking care of the eggs. You see, dinosaurs' closest living relatives, birds and crocodiles, display nesting behavior, and dinosaur fossils have been found in postures that we now believe to indicate brooding behavior, and that is sitting on the eggs until they hatch. So we're curious about the type of care dinosaurs gave to their young, and we'd like to figure out which dinosaur parent, the male or the female, gave the care.
Shouldn't the behavior of crocodiles and birds give us some clues then?
Well, with crocodiles, it's the female who guards the nest, and with birds, it depends on the species. It can be the male or the female that takes care of the eggs, or both. In over 90% of all bird species, both parents take care of the eggs and the young birds.
But sometimes it's just the male?
Well, exclusive care by the male parent is much less common, but it does occur. Now, for animals other than birds, the care of young by both parents is pretty unusual in the animal kingdom. Males contribute to parental care in fewer than 5% of all mammalian species. It's even less frequent among reptiles, and exclusive care by the male is very rare. So researchers have wondered about the evolution of male parenting behavior in birds for quite some time. And now there's research showing that for some of the bird's dinosaur relatives, it's likely that the male parent was also in charge of taking care of the eggs.
How did they figure that out?
Well, first they looked at clutch volume. That's the number of eggs in the nest of crocodiles, birds, and 3 types of dinosaurs, including oviraptors, that are thought to be closely related to the dinosaur ancestors of birds. So when researchers examined fossilized remains of nests, they found that the dinosaurs had larger clutch volumes, more eggs in the nest, that is, than most of the crocodiles and birds that were studied. But, and this is important, their clutch volumes matched those of birds that have only male parental care. You see, bird species in which only the males take care of the nest tend to have the largest clutches of eggs.
So what's the connection between bird and dinosaur behavior?
Well, researchers now believe, because of this study, that the male parenting behavior of these birds might have its origins in the behavior of dinosaurs.
Based only on evidence of clutch volume size? The number of eggs?
No, there's more. They also examined the fossilized bones of those 3 types of dinosaurs that were found on or near nests to determine their sex. You see, adult female birds during egg production produce a layer of spongy bone tissue inside certain long bones. And so did female dinosaurs of the kinds that were investigated. This spongy tissue serves as a source of calcium for eggshell formation. But when the dinosaur fossils were examined, there were no spongy bone deposits.
Meaning that those dinosaurs on the nests were probably adult males who wouldn't have needed calcium for making eggshells.
Exactly. And then there's this. Birds like the kiwi, the ostrich, and the emu. They share certain physical characteristics with these dinosaurs, and interestingly, they also show a consistent pattern of nest care by the male.
What does the professor mainly discuss?
Okay, guys. That is the lecture. We are not going to answer questions about it. I just wanted you to listen and get the idea. Okay? It is normally between 3 to 4 minutes. I have one question. What is the solution to answering that question? Imagine you have 6 questions to answer about that lecture. What could be the solution? What could you do to answer those questions?
Take some notes.
Take some notes. Okay, that's a good suggestion. Any other suggestion, guys? Any other suggestion?
To pay attention all the time.
To
Don't
pay,
miss any detail.
okay, to pay attention all the time. Okay. Okay, what do you do as you're paying attention? Do you write something or you don't need to write something?
Yes.
Yes, Martha, what is your opinion?
I think that we can take short notes because when we are listening, the record is very fast. So in my case, I do short bulletins, and after that I read that I wrote, and I compare with the answer.
Okay, so because the lecture is long, guys, there is only one solution. The solution is taking good notes. Okay, because the lecture is long. In listening part 1, the listening is 11 seconds. Even if you don't write, you can memorize it. However, I even advise students to write part 1. If you can make notes on listening part 1, make notes. But in listening part 3, you must. It is not you have, it is not just necessary, but it is a rule. You must take notes. Why? You cannot depend on your memory because your memory is not so good. Okay? You have ever forgotten where you have put your phone 1 minute ago? So the memory is not too good. And what is the solution? The solution is taking notes. So we are going to spend a very huge amount of time to learn how to take notes so that you can use the notes to answer the question. The reason why I have played the recording and we have not done any questions is for you to understand the type of lectures that we are going to listen to and the length. Actually, the speaker is not speaking very fast. That is how a person speaks at the university. That is how they speak. You can interrupt them by asking questions, but that is how they speak. They are not speaking very fast. That is their normal pace. That is their normal speed of speaking. So, what is the main objective of this session? The main objective of the session is to learn how to take notes. So get your notebook ready, guys. Get your notebook ready as I share ways of how we can take notes. Okay? So, a moment. Okay, so we have started. Please take notes when you feel, if you feel they are very, actually they are important. You take notes as we continue. Listening part 3 is a lecture other than a conversation. It will be longer. Oh, you know, some people don't want to be told the truth. I'm telling you the truth. It is longer than the previous conversations. So if you wrote in part 2, we are going to write more. And it is slightly formal. It is always at the university. Still, we can use the same skills. However, this is what we are going to concentrate on. Taking notes on the main points, taking notes on the supporting details, and understanding the structure and purpose of the lecture. I'm going to break down each of these one by one so that you understand what we mean. Please pay maximum attention. Now, what must you do when listening to a lecture? Do you just sit there and enjoy the good English they're speaking? Do you simply pay attention? Do you simply just close your eyes? No. There are 5 important things you're supposed to do when you're listening. Number 1, listen actively. I'm going to explain that. Number 2, take notes on the main points. Okay? Normally when they are presenting this lecture, they will say, for example, Today we are going to talk about the government. As we are looking at the government, we are going to look at types of government. Then they break down the types. Then they will define every type. Now, take notes on the main points, that is types of government. Then after, take notes under the types of government. In the previous lecture, what were they talking about in the previous lecture? What was the main idea? In the lecture that we have just had a few minutes ago, what was the main idea? Yes?
Dinosaurs in relation with birds.
Yeah, the relationship between dinosaurs and birds. So they gave the side of the dinosaurs and they gave the side of the birds. When you're taking notes, take notes on the main idea, the relationship between birds and dinosaurs. Then take notes on the smaller ideas. What do they talk about birds? What do they talk about dinosaurs? That is what we mean by supporting details. Number 4, understand the structure. How do they break down the lecture? Do they start by reviewing past information and then define new information? Or do they start with new information and then they go into past information? Then number 5, understand the purpose of the lecture. When the person is speaking, what do they want you to understand? Why are they passing on this lecture to you? So let us break down these 5 things. Please make notes, make notes, make notes. It's really important. Okay. We are going to start with active listening. Diana, what is active listening? Open the microphone, open the microphone.
Okay, it makes maximally focusing on what the speaker is saying and not just hearing. It means listening to what the speakers want to tell you rather than listening with not purpose.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to do what we call active listening. What is active listening? Active listening is focusing on what the speaker is saying, not just hearing. Okay? Not just hearing. Focus on what the speaker is saying. There is a difference between hearing and listening. When you are hearing, you don't think about what they are saying. You just hear. Even if they ask you what you have heard, you cannot recall. But when you're listening, you try to visualize what you're listening to. That is active listening. You can even guess what they are going to say next because you have been following. Now, this is important, guys. What is the most important question when you are listening? What is the most important question you need to ask yourself when you're listening? The most important question is, what is the speaker trying to tell me? If you can answer that question, if you can ask yourself that question, then you will know you are making reasonable notes. What is the speaker trying to tell me? What do I want to find? Yeah, when your boss calls you and tells you that, hey, we have a meeting together, me and you. You pay attention to what they are trying to tell you. You want to understand exactly what they are saying. So it is the same attitude you need to have in the lecture, guys. They are going to speak about many things, but I want you to think like a teacher, not like a student. When a teacher is listening, the teacher has a question. What is this person trying to say? When a student is complaining in class, the thing in your brain is, what is the student trying to tell me? So you should have the same attitude. What is the attitude? What is the speaker trying to tell me? What do I need to understand? What do I need to know at the end of the lecture? That is the meaning of active listening. I am emphasizing it because It is the most important skill. Listen actively. Pay attention to the screen and to the notes that you're making. Don't look on the sides, because 10 seconds are sufficient for you to lose attention about what is happening. So, do we understand the meaning of active listening, guys? Is it clear? Guys, do we understand the meaning of active listening?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Can you explain it to me in your own words? Don't use my words. Can you explain it to me in your own words? What is active listening? In your own words.
For example, when you talk about hearing, you mean, for example, when you listen at song on the radio maybe, and you just hear and no more. But listening means understanding the main points, understanding the ideas, the message that the song, for example, has.
Exactly, exactly. Anyone with a different idea about active listening? What is active listening, guys? What do you understand by active listening? In your own words, Mildred, what is active listening in your own words?
In my own words, I think active listening, you have to pick the main objectives that is in the sentence, what you have heard.
Okay.
And also you can try to find out the main point. Like the lady Mariam said about the song, you have to get the meaning. What is the message about?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, that is very important. Pay attention. That is skill number 1. Skill number 2, taking notes. Now, a student doing iTEP listening part 3 must take notes. You must. It is in bold and it is in red. You must take notes. I'm not saying you should. I'm not giving you advice that you should. I'm calling it must. It is a rule. Now, why? Because the questions will test your understanding, not your memory. They will not ask you, according to the lecture, when did Columbus visit America? No, that is checking memory. The question they will ask is, according to the lecture, why did Columbus visit America? They are checking your understanding. Now, the main reason why we take notes is because our memory is very forgetful. So when you take notes, it is easier for you to jog your memory, to understand what is happening, and to write it down. So you have to take notes, guys. You have to take notes. Secondly, when you are an active listener, you're taking notes, you need to know this, okay? Number 1, let me have Kerry. Kerry, can you please read the objectives of an active listener?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Examples of roles of an active listener. Understand the main idea in the first minute. Okay. Understand the way the lecture is organized. You wanted to find out what the lecturer wants the students to know by the end. Okay, very good. When we are taking our notes, guys, in the first minute, you need to understand the main idea. In the first minute. Number 2, how are they organizing the lecture? Maybe they are talking about types of music, classical music. Maybe they are talking about genres. How are they organizing the lecture? Do they start with categories and then they define them? Or they first define, then they go to the category? You need to understand the organization. And finally,
understand what does the lecturer want students to know. You can only answer question number 3 after listening to the whole lecture. Normally, when the lecturer is ending the lecture, he or she will tell students what she wants them to know. So that is an active listener. Number 1 has the main idea in the first minute. Number 2, understand the organization of the lecture. And number 3, can get the message of the lecturer to the students. Can I continue? Are you active listeners as I'm speaking?
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
taking notes? Are you taking notes?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a person maybe saying, why don't we go straight to the lecture? There was an American president called Abraham Lincoln. He said, if you give me 1 hour to cut down a tree, I will spend 50 minutes preparing my axe. So right now, we are preparing the axe before we cut down the tree. We are getting the background, okay? So let's continue, guys. Now, how to take notes like a professional, okay? How to take notes like a professional. Let me have someone to read this for me. Edith, can you please help me and read it?
Yes.
Okay.
How to take notes like a pro.
Okay.
Use the language you are most comfortable with.
Okay.
Use shorthand. Don't use many words per line. Combine 2 pieces of related information.
Exactly. Number 1, guys, use the language you're very comfortable with. There is no problem with writing notes in Spanish. It is not prohibited. It is allowed. You can write your notes in Spanish. If Spanish is your first language, you can take your notes in Spanish if English gives you a problem. Okay? Yeah. Or if you don't take notes in Spanish, you can write the words in Spanish. You can write an English word in Spanish. For example, maybe the lecturer says, I went to my house to pick something. Okay? I went to my house to pick something. Now, these are the notes that you will take. You can say, went to house. That's okay. You can get the message. Because you're the one who is going to use your notes, no one else is going to use them. Okay? So use the language that you understand. Number 2, use shorthand. You don't need to write everything. You can use shorthand. You can say, went to the house to get something. Do we understand shorthand? Yes, guys, do we understand? I don't know if you have shorthand in Spanish.
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
because
use shorthand.
Because when we are doing the short phrases, we take a lot of time writing the complete word.
Correct. You don't need to write the word example. Just write Iggy. You don't need to write.
It's like abbreviation.
Yeah, use abbreviations. That is the meaning of shorthand. You don't need, if you want to write increase, just write plus. If you want to write decrease, just write minus. Do we understand, guys? There was an increase in the number of animals in the zoo, okay? You can write that in a shorthand. Don't write everything in full. And if possible, you can write nouns. You can write nouns. You can write places. You can write adjectives. You can also write nouns, adjectives, and numbers. Then don't use many words. However, your sentence has to make sense because you will look at your notes to help you, and your notes won't help you because the words you wrote were not clear. Don't write very many words, but don't write very few words. At least write between 3 to 7 words. Minimum 3, maximum 7. Don't write very many words and don't write very few words. Just be in the middle, between 3 to 7. And when you hear 2 words that are related or 2 terms that are related, connect them when you are writing, okay? Connect them. You can use your free hand. You say, this one is related to this one. You connect them. Why? Because it will help you when you are answering questions. And let me tell you something, guys. When you take good notes, you don't need to go back to the notes because first you listened, you paid attention, you memorized, then you put it in the book or on paper. Your memory can easily remember almost everything that you wrote. I normally take notes, but I don't use the notes. Why? Because everything is still fresh in my memory. Do we understand how to take notes like a pro? Yes, guys?
Yes.
The lecture, guys, the lecture is going to be long. So you need to have notes. You need to have notes. When I say this, students get confused. Don't write everything, but write everything that you can. Do not write everything because it is impossible. However, write everything that you can write because it will help you. Writing useless information is better than no information because you never know where the question is going to come from. Okay. Now, taking notes on the main points. Normally, the lecture is organized in a way that there are main points. A moment. We have main points and sub points. Okay? Under the main points. There is the main point, then the sub points. Now, you must take notes on the main points. The notes must be taken on the main points. Now, a question will come. How do I know that this is a main point? It is easy. Normally, after understanding the main idea of the lecture, the main idea is the purpose of the lecture. Secondly, they use transitional words when explaining. The lecturer will say something like, the world population has increased in the last couple of years. First, it is due to improvement in technology, which has led to development in medicine. Secondly, there is a discovery of many types of food that help people to grow faster and more healthier. In addition to that, do we understand transitional words? They connect ideas. The first idea to the second idea. So listen to those words. The most important thing is you write that down. The second reason why you write that down, that is the main idea. When you listen to a transitional word, despite, however, because, the most important thing, in addition to the above. Do we understand, guys, how we take notes on the main points? Yes? Yes, guys?
Yes, Mr. Kasit, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mean to get the main point, if you hear such conversations, or if you hear the transition words, that's where you can get the main point.
Yeah, they are going to talk about something important when they say that.
Okay, thank you.
That is something you need to write down. When you hear them saying, but as he was, you write that down when you hear any transitional word. Why? Because they are connecting the previous point with the next point. Do you make sense from what I'm saying, guys? Yes? Yeah?
Somehow, Mr. Casita. So you mean here when you say the main point and the sub points. So when you get this, the upper one, and then you say, how do we get the main point? So if we hear but, these are the transition words. They are the sub points, yes?
Correct.
And then the purpose of the lecture is the main point.
Correct.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna continue, guys. I'm gonna continue. I'm spending a lot of time preparing you because the lecture is really stressing for many students. Why? Because they don't know what to do. So I'm giving you strategies, okay? Now, include supporting details on the notes. And what do I mean? After writing your main points, put some supporting details under that main point. These two can be connected using transitional words. The supporting details normally explain the main point. Okay, we shall have the main point. After getting the main point, you need to use some supporting details below it. You don't have to know how to spell the words. They are going to speak some words which you have never heard of. Thermodynamic, silicon, they are going to speak many scientific words. You don't need to know what they mean. You don't need to know. Just write it as you hear it, and then you write details about it, because they are not going to ask you on the meaning of the words. They are just going to ask you on your understanding about the word. You don't need to know what the word means. You just need to know the details, the information about that word. Do we understand the difference between main idea and supporting details? Yes, guys, do we understand the difference between main idea and supporting details? In the previous lecture, they were talking about the difference between birds and dinosaurs. Then they introduced crocodiles. They talked about birds in details. They talked about crocodiles. Then those are supporting details under the topic, the differences between birds and reptiles in the way they reproduce. Is that okay, guys? Okay. Okay, this one is not very important, but it is also important to know. You have to understand how the lecture is delivered.
Mr. Casita, please.
Yeah, yes, please.
Please, can you go back to the previous one? I haven't finished. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to send, you're taking a picture?
Yep.
Okay. But will you read that information?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, guys, understanding the structure. You have to understand how the lecture is developed, how the lecture is delivered. The question you're supposed to ask is, do they start with main point, then explanation, or do they review the information first? For example, if it is Casita who is giving the lecture and the information I'm giving you is a lecture, do I start with the main point, then I explain, or I first review previous information? Of course, before I start my class, I first review the previous information from our previous classes. So you have to pay attention and understand the process of delivery. What is the first thing? What is the next thing? Okay? Yeah, so then the purpose. Towards the end of the lecture, the speaker can normally say the purpose of the lecture. At the end, that is when you understand the purpose of the lecture. He or she can also say it at the beginning, but it will come out more clearly at the end. Let that be very clear, guys. In the first minute, you can understand the main idea of the lecture in the first minute, in minute number 1. But the whole purpose, the whole significance of the lecture comes at the end. Remember, on the 6 things that you're supposed to know, you are supposed to know the purpose of the lecture. Why is this lecturer talking to us? Why is she telling us something? Why is he delivering this lecture? You can't answer that question at the beginning. You can only answer that question at the end. Do we understand, guys? Guys, do we understand? Yes, people? Open the microphones and respond, guys.
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. What are some of the resources to use to practice? You can use TOEFL listening for conversation and lectures. This is important, guys. TOEFL listening only for conversations and lecture questions. TOEFL listening has many parts, but only select conversations and lecture notes. Secondly, visit the Scientific American website and visit TED-Ed. This is for practice. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You have to use these resources, guys. I'm not sharing them just for the sake. You have to visit these websites. Okay? A moment. The first website, this one is called Scientific American. They have podcasts about many things. Okay? Pay attention, guys. Pay attention. There is a podcast about male lyrebirds lie to get sex, COVID. They are talking about COVID. They're talking about beehives. They're talking about national parks, the deepest dive to find, and they are normally 5 minutes. So listen to them. They are really good. Okay? So this is Scientific American. A moment. I'm going to share this link with you. You are going to use it for practice. After listening, compare your notes with the script. This website is called TED-Ed. Okay? It's called TED-Ed. What is it for? It has lectures and they are short. This one is for 2-3 minutes. You can select between 4 to 5. 4 to 5. How the food you eat affects your brain. Click on the lecture. Okay? Click on the lecture. After clicking on the lecture, play.
Nutritional content. What would it look like?
Play, take notes. After taking notes, compare your notes with the script. Where is the script? Where is the script? Normally they give you a script below. I'm not seeing it because I haven't signed in. So use those 2 websites, guys. Scientific American and TED Talk. Listen to the talks and take notes. That is for practice. Okay, I think we are almost done. Now we are going for the lecture. A moment. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment. How to avoid distractions. There are two ways to avoid distractions. Number one, focus on the screen and your notes. Don't look at people besides you. Please don't. Because 5 seconds are sufficient for you to lose focus. So pay attention to the screen and your notes. Number two, do not look away. Okay? You have to sit in a comfortable position where no one is going to bother you. There are no distractions. Now, what you don't have to do. Number one, understand everything. Number two, write everything. Now, they are going to present the lecture. You will not understand everything. Okay? You will not understand everything. Let that be in your head. You are not going to understand 100%. You just have to understand what is enough, like 75%. Secondly, don't write everything. Remember, this is what you don't have to do. It is negative. Okay? What you don't have to do. Understand everything and write everything. Those are the prohibitions. Okay, I want to know if you are ready to go for the lecture. Are we ready? Are you ready, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Now, remember, iTEP is different from some other exams. You listen, then you answer. And you listen only once. It is one opportunity. Don't waste it. Use the opportunity well. Now, please get your notebook ready. Get your notebook ready. And I play the audio and you start writing. Get your notebook ready and we start writing. Remember, you are not going to understand everything. And to make sure that people are writing, I'm going to ask you the notes that you have written. What have you written down? This. Don't tell me 3 sentences and you stop. No, they have to be like 10. You have to write a lot of things. The lecture is 3 minutes and some 50 seconds. So you have to write a lot. But don't write everything because you will not understand everything. You are not a stenographer in court. You are a student taking notes to answer questions on a lecture. Okay. Just give me a few seconds. I'm gonna start playing the lecture. Focus on the screen and on your notebook. Actually, you don't need to focus on the screen. Just focus on your notes. Ready, guys? Ready?
Ready.
Yes, ready.
Any distraction, family member, tell them to go and sleep. It is very late. Guys, this is serious. This lecture, people get 0. People get 0 because of the lecture. The lecture has 6 questions. You have to make notes. Now, you can't make notes if there is a distraction. Janet, Teresa, Matita, are you in class, guys?
Yes, teacher.
Guys, get ready to take notes. Just pay attention to the notes that you are taking. Maybe
okay.
you don't understand something for 10 seconds. Just relax. After 10 seconds, continue writing.
Okay.
You can write in Spanish. It's very okay. You can write in Spanish. The most important thing is you have material to use for answering questions. Okay. So I'm gonna play the listening.
Listening Part 3, Exercise A.
Can you hear, guys?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Following is part of a lecture on the subject of compact discs versus record albums. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you have recently purchased a compact disc? Have any of you ever purchased a record? There's no doubt that compact discs have overtaken record albums as the most popular format for consumers to purchase music. But is a digital recording superior to an analog recording? Well, let's find out. First, understand that what we think of as musical recordings are basically electrical reproductions of sound waves. A singer's voice or a band playing a song makes a sound wave, and it's that wave that is recorded and reproduced. I mention the wave because, believe it or not, it's actually important to the issue here. The term analog comes from the recording process. Analog recordings are intended to vary in a manner analogous to variations in air pressure in the original sound. The grooves on record albums are graphic representations of recorded sound waves. As the stylus, better known as the needle, runs over the grooves, it reproduces the original sounds, which are then amplified and modulated. The quality, or fidelity, of that sound depends on how advanced the stereo system that is processing it is. When these systems were first becoming popular, the better systems were considered hi-fi. The fans of these stereos, often called audiophiles, would embrace each improvement in stereo technology and brag about their hi-fi systems. These audiophiles treated their records with special care, making sure never to touch them with their fingertips to avoid smudges, keeping them dry and always storing them promptly after using them. When compact discs were introduced, they were hailed not only as representing great improvements in sound, but also were considered less fragile than records and practically indestructible. For these reasons, consumers were willing to pay almost 3 times as much for a CD than they were for an album. How was a CD different from a record? First, you've got to understand the difference between digital and analog. Remember, sound appears in waves, so ideally you want to reproduce it as closely as possible to that form. Information that is stored digitally is in bits and bytes, or more simply, in binary code, zeros and ones. For digital recording, all of those sound waves must be broken down into digital information. One way of thinking of it is that analog is a slope, and digital reproduction is an attempt to recreate that slope using millions of tiny steps. Technically speaking, a digital recording doesn't capture the sound wave like an analog recording does, but approximates it as closely as it can. Certain audiophiles who are analog supporters argue that some of the richness of the sound is lost in each one of those steps, no matter how small or undetectable it may be. With the first digital recordings, these steps may have been pronounced. But as the digital capacity has grown and the sampling size has increased, these steps have practically been erased, and the digital process has gained the support of many digital classical musicians who believe that digital recordings are now superior. Another advantage that digital recordings have is that they suffer less deterioration. After 20 years of playing the same disc, the quality should be as good as when it was first played. Now, the same cannot be said for a record. Every time the stylus plays a record, it physically changes it. After it's played many times, the groove will change, and the sound will change with it. You might say it will evolve. When a CD is played, there is no physical contact involved, and the data is read optically using a laser beam. A digital player doesn't actually touch. It merely runs a laser over information and reads it optically. So, is digital better than analog? The recording industry has chosen a hybrid solution. Most recording engineers utilize both methods in creating recordings, using the specialized and sensitive analog equipment to detect the sound waves, and then immediately capturing them as rich samples of digital information to ensure that they are preserved as authentically as possible. Listening Part 3.
I told you. Okay, yeah, it is long. I won't say it is difficult, but it is complex. I have to pay a lot of attention, write a lot, remember a lot. Now, the notes you have are the ones you are going to use for answering the question. You have 6 questions, but the question is, have you written down some notes? Yes, guys, have you written down some notes?
Yes. Yes.
Do the notes make sense? Okay, let's listen to what you've written. I'm going to listen to all your notes. Who is going first? Who is going first? I want to listen to the information. Maybe the information doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't have to, but I need to know that you have some notes. Who is going first? I want to listen to what you've written.
Miriam is going to.
Okay, Miriam.
I have some ideas. I have some incomplete ideas. For example,
okay.
Contact this versus a record.
Okay.
Compare this most popular, more fragile than records. Something about musical records. Analog comes from recording graphic representations. Fidelity, quality, system. Never touch with fingertips. Difference between digital and analog. Digital information is stored in binary system. That means zeros and ones. Doesn't catch sound. Capacities grow. Are not superior to analog. CD are played with no physical contact. About the analog is a stop. Richness of sound is lost.
Yeah.
No more.
Okay, you can work with that. You can work with that. You can go through it as we bring the questions. Yeah, next one. Who has taken down some notes?
Me, teacher.
Yeah, Edith, please.
Yeah, I have something. I brought something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a popular form of music.
Yeah.
It was talk about the musical recorders. It is really important, especially to mix sound in a good way to reproduce and recording process. Yeah, in the variation with the mixes of the voices and the sound of the music.
Yes.
And graphic these representators. What else? The sounds original that they need in the producers. What else? It's talking about the stereo system, and technologies, the improvement sound, and it is talk about also about the CD, the different recording.
Yes.
And what else? People, they need to have taken account the tiny steps for recording.
Yes.
What else? The recording capacities. The types, the charges, and the hyper solution for when they uses technology science. That's it. No more.
Okay, yeah, that's enough. You can work with that. You can work with that. Anyone else who has written down notes? Carrie?
Okay. I have the main idea that is recording, I believe.
Okay.
The compact recording. I have only take note only words. Music. I have electric. I have to play with to reproduce a process, a version of original recording sound, about the original sounds, the quality, stereo system processing, about again the technology, the sound, we have the different, also one with the bytes, other with the waves, and other with the digital information, digital recording. I don't have, it's not the same, all the about the compass, because some one are they are the same physical, but they are changing in the other way, as physical and the sound. And we have to create a recording and detecting the sounds. I have that.
Okay. Important, guys, when you're making notes, you have to make them understandable, because you are going to use them for answering questions. Okay, so if you have taken bad notes, you won't be able to use them. So it's very good to use clear notes. They don't have to be very organized, but they have to be clear to you, not to me. Okay, another presenter, another one.
Let me try.
Okay.
I had written about I was just bulleting.
Yeah, that's okay.
I wrote about the purchased compact discs and the analog, and then I wrote it's also a digital superior, and also I wrote about the music recording, and also I wrote about the analog recording that are different from the CD.
Yes.
And I also wrote about the bytes and the bits and the bytes digital are also broken tightly.
Yes.
Kind of like. And also the CD players, there are no physical contact.
Okay. Yeah, anyone else? Anyone else? And I think that is gonna be the last person. Anyone else who has taken down notes, guys? Yeah? Yeah, Diana. Yes.
Okay. I listen a popular music recording.
Yeah.
Play a song. Attention here about the music. Recording a sound, produce a sound. Improve the technology.
Yeah.
Practice 3 times for CD.
Yes.
Record to produce the recording steps, pronounce a new experience when many play practice the CD information, and especially screen possible.
Okay, thank you, Diana. Thank you. Yeah. You must take notes, guys, because when you take notes, you have something to work with. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and then we look at the questions. Yes, Mariam Costa?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is it possible that you can share the link that you shared in the chat? You can share on the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, guys, we are going to the questions now. Okay, I have played track 21. Okay, question number 1. According to the professor, when compact discs were first introduced, they were considered less fragile than record albums, priced the same as record albums, analogous to actual sound waves, or considered to be very high fidelity. What is the correct option, according to your notes?
Consider less fragile than record albums.
Yeah.
Someone is saying considered less fragile than record albums. Compact discs and record albums, which one was more fragile?
Compact discs.
Compact discs. But here they are saying less fragile.
Yeah.
Meaning record albums were more fragile than compact discs.
So it's not that.
So it's definitely not A. They are saying less fragile, meaning they were not they were not very fragile like record albums. So A is off. Okay, price the same as record albums?
No.
Were they the same cost? Has the professor said that the cost was the same?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Analogous to actual sound waves? They were in analog?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that is an option. Okay, part B, considered to be very high fidelity?
No.
No. So what is the correct option?
C.
C. Correct. That is C. Important, guys, important. This is important. You need to understand this, okay? It is really important when you're practicing, when you're preparing for exams. We are going to look at 6 questions. It is very possible that you can get 0 in the 6. That's okay. That's okay. You need to be patient with yourself. This is your first listening, part 3. You can fail it. You have permission. It only becomes a problem after practicing for like 1 month and then you are getting 0. If you are getting 0 at the start, that's okay, because a bad beginning makes a good ending. Is that okay? So it is okay to fail. Be patient with yourself, okay? It's okay that some of your answers are going to be incorrect. That's okay, that's very okay. Because we are just starting. This is our first question. We are going to do more questions now and in the future. So you should understand that, guys. So number 1 is C. Okay, let's continue. Question 2. The professor mentions classical musicians in paragraph 7 because he's a fan of classical music. His test takers are classical musicians. To cite examples of respected supporters of digital recording, because they are experts in the recording industry. What is the correct option?
Letter C.
Letter C.
Letter C, to cite examples of respected supporters of digital recording. Okay, before we confirm that it is C, is the professor a fan of classical music?
No.
No, I think he didn't mention about that.
Yeah, he didn't say that he's a fan of classical music. His test takers are classical musicians. Is that talked about?
No.
Are the test takers classical musicians? Definitely not. Okay. To cite examples of respected supporters of digital recording.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe they are experts in the recording industry. Okay, we are going with to cite examples of respected supporters of digital recording. Okay. Number 2. Why does the professor ask the class if they purchased a compact disc? What is the correct option there, guys? Why does the professor ask the class if they've purchased a compact disc? What is the correct option?
To illustrate how music is purchased now.
To do what?
To illustrate how music is purchased now.
To illustrate how music is purchased now. Okay, any other option? Did he help create CD technology?
No.
No. Okay. Is he audiophile? Does he enjoy listening to music?
No.
We don't know.
No.
Is the professor selling CDs?
No.
No. So he wants to illustrate how music is purchased now. Yes. Yeah, he's asking his students, has any one of you purchased a compact disc? So he wants to know how music is purchased now. Let's continue to the next question. According to the professor, the improved sound quality of compact disc can be attributed to. Why was there an improvement in the quality of compact discs, guys? What is the reason? Better musicians, audiophiles, larger capacity, or changes in wave technology? A, B, C, D. Which one?
A.
A. Better musicians recording digitally?
No.
I think it's D.
Changes in wave technology?
D.
Okay, everyone is saying D, and I have no reason not to say no.
No.
Yeah, changes in wave technology. When he said when technology improved, they started recording using waves, and then the sound quality improved. Okay. According to the professor, what is the reason why a CD will last longer than a record? Why does a CD last longer than a record, guys? Yes? Why does a CD last longer than a record?
Letter D.
Maybe letter A.
Letter A.
D.
CDs use wave technology.
A or
D.
Okay, we have two options. We have CDs are read optically and CDs use wave technology. Why does it last longer? Do you normally touch, remember, when you are using a record is like a very big CD. It is very big. They insert it in the player, then it starts rotating. When it rotates, it damages the record. However, with the CD, you put a CD in the player, then there is a laser which reads information from the CD. So the CD doesn't get damaged because it is read by an optical laser. So what is the correct option from that explanation?
A.
That is A. They are read optically, correct. CDs are read optically. Yeah. So, yeah, the correct option is none other than A. They are read optically because with the record, the information is read. There is something that passes over the record. So with time, it damages the record. But with the CD, there is no direct physical contact between the laser and the CD. So it does not get damaged. You get it out as you put it in. Okay. Number 5. According to the lecture, the situation today is that digital recording has completely replaced analog recording. I don't know. Record albums are no longer available for purchase. I don't know. Audiophiles vastly prefer compact discs. I don't know. The recording process is a combination of digital and analog. What is happening today, guys?
I think it's D. The recording process is a combination of digital and analog.
Okay. Anyone with the same opinion?
Yes, the letter D.
Letter D.
Okay, everyone is saying D. Can we consider option A?
according to the lecture, the situation today is that digital.
Yeah, digital
I
has
think
completely
it's
replaced analog. Can we think about option A? Yes, guys?
A.
Yeah, can we think about A? I'm not saying it is the correct one. I'm asking, can we think about it? Yeah? Yes, people? Talk to me, talk to me. Talk to me,
Okay,
guys.
Mr. Kasita.
Yes.
Let's say digital is the new system and
Okay.
analog is the old system.
Well, that is correct.
So here I think A is correct because right now people are using the new systems of recording their music. We are no longer using the old system.
Okay, but by all people, by everyone?
Yes, because I think it's because of the change of the technology. That
yeah, can we say that everyone is using digital?
No.
There are some people who are still using analog. So it is a combination of both digital and analog, considering option D. Yes, majority are using digital. That is very correct, Mildred. Majority are using digital. However, there is a small number. I wish I could play the recording again, but I'm not going to because even in the exam, you listen to it only once. So we have finished our first listening activity. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we go for number 2?
Yes, teacher. Yes.
But this time, take better notes. Take better notes. Make a sentence which makes sense. The sentence has to make sense to you. Maybe to me, it's very okay. But because you are going to use that information, guys, so you have to take notes that make sense. Okay, I am ready when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Please start writing. Remember, don't pay attention to the screen. There is nothing you're looking at the screen. Just pay attention in the notebook. Now, there is this problem. Something may distract you. You can lose distraction for 5 seconds, but resume, continue recording, okay? Continue writing what you're writing. Okay, so I'm gonna play the recording for this lecture.
Now listen to part of a talk in an astronomy class.
So, I would like to continue our discussion about the moon, more particularly about the origins of the moon and how it was actually created. We talked about 3 possible solutions, more like theories, about how the moon was created. Can anyone tell me the name of one of these theories? Sarah.
Well, I do remember the Captcha Theory, which proposes that the moon was located somewhere else in the galaxy until eventually it was kind of like captured by the Earth's gravitational pull.
Yes, and I'm glad you started with the Captcha Theory because it's the easiest one to reject. Its primary drawback is that no one knows of any way that Earth could have captured such a large moon from elsewhere. One body approaching another cannot go into orbit around it without a serious loss of energy. Furthermore, if such a capture did take place, the captured object would go into a very strange orbit, rather than the nearly circular orbit our moon goes through today. Finally, there are too many similarities in composition between Earth and the moon. It's much more likely that the Earth and the moon were somehow connected at one point in the past. What was another theory discussed? James?
The fission theory. Like you said, the moon was once a part of the Earth, but somehow separated from it early in their history. But I remember you mentioned some problems with this theory too.
Yes, the fission theory suggests that the moon separated from the Earth, but modern calculations have shown that this type of splitting is nearly impossible. Furthermore, it is difficult to understand how a moon made out of materials from the Earth could have developed so many chemical differences from our own. And the third? James again?
Yeah, the last one is the sister theory. It claims that the moon formed together with the Earth, but also remained independent from it. This is why many astronomers once believed of other moons in the solar system too.
Yes, the sister theory was the dominant idea accepted by most astronomers in the past. But like the Captcha and Fission theory, it had some problems, particularly when trying to explain how it could have such a lower density when compared to the Earth. Now, in an effort to resolve these apparent contradictions, scientists developed a fourth hypothesis for the origin of the moon, one that involves a giant impact early in Earth's history. This idea, known as the giant impact hypothesis, proposes that Earth was struck by an object approximately 1/10 Earth's mass, which is about the size of Mars. This is very nearly the largest impact Earth could experience without being shattered. Now, such an impact would disrupt much of Earth and eject a vast amount of material into space, releasing almost enough energy to break the planet apart. Computer simulations indicate that material totaling several % of Earth's mass could be ejected in such an impact. Most of this material would be from the stony mantles of Earth and the impacting body, not from their metal cores. This ejected rock would then cool and form a ring of material orbiting Earth. It was this ring that ultimately came together and formed the moon. While we do not have any current way of showing that the giant impact hypothesis is the correct model of the moon's origin, it does offer potential solutions to most of the major problems raised by the chemistry of the moon. Most importantly, since the moon's raw material is from the deep rocks of Earth and the asteroid that hit it, the composition and chemistry of the moon is better understood and explained.
Now, answer the questions. 1. What is the professor mainly discussing?
A moment, guys, a moment. Moment. So have you taken down notes? Yes? Guys, were you writing?
Somehow.
No. That is a yes or no question. There is no in between. You either write or you don't write.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think your notes?
Yes.
Can your notes help you in answering the questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Janet, were you writing, Janet?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what you have written down?
Okay, so this is about the lecture.
Okay.
Three possible solutions. Remember the cafeteria and some the other place. The gens separate different history, difficult understand. This is the impact, experience, materials. This is about the impact body, composition.
Okay. Sarmiento, have you written down some notes, Sarmiento?
Okay. About is the moon?
About the moon. Okay, it is about the moon. Okay.
About the moon is, I don't remember Capsule Galaxy event. Nobody's spirit material. Sun as the moon, depend for all the moon. Practice competition on the moon purpose. Very large experience, no more.
Okay. Teresa, hello, Teresa. Hi, Teresa. Teresa is not here.
Yes, I am here. But
Okay, Teresa.
I just take little notes because I don't really understand very well the vocabulary. So I don't think it could help me. But
okay. Wow. The English was very difficult. Was it too complicated?
For me, yes, because I haven't practiced listening, and I need to practice as you tell vocabulary. So I don't understand very good.
Okay. Yeah, Martita, have you written down some notes?
Yes, teacher, but I follow your advices and I want to read the codes, but I think that these are Maya codes and I don't understand.
Okay, what have you written down?
For example, I write down that the origin of the creation of the moon.
Okay.
It is easy, and the first drop lies more one badly or around there, capture rather than a circle. Finally, two similarities more than air connected in the past. Physicians mention that is the part of the earth suggests separate the echoes. That's it.
Okay, so guys, we are going to start answering the question. Remember, if your answers are incorrect, be patient with yourself. As we continue practicing, you will get better. Okay? Is that okay, guys? It is okay for your answers to be incorrect.
Okay.
The problem is, after practicing for a very long time, and then your answers are incorrect, but you have not practiced yet, okay? So it is okay for your answers to be incorrect now. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah, patience is a very important virtue. So be patient. Don't only be patient with other people, but be patient with yourself. I'm not Ecuadorian, but one of the things I've learned about Ecuadorians are very patient people. So practice that patience with yourself, okay? If you are a teacher in the Ecuadorian education system, you know that you need to be patient, really, with students, with parents, with coworkers, with your boss, with the inspector. So be patient with yourself as you are with other people. So let us start answering these questions, guys. Question 1 says, what is the professor mainly discussing? Now they are asking the main idea of their talk. And what is the correct answer, guys?
It's letter C.
Ayamakosta is saying C. Okay. Different opinion? Open the microphone, Edith.
I'm agree this with the literal C, because it was in the lecture it was mentioned more about theories.
The theories with their problems.
Yes.
Okay, Mildred, do you agree?
Yes, I have the same, because I wrote here the solutions about the creation
The
of
problems. Okay. Anyone with a different opinion, guys?
No.
Okay, question. Yes, Martita?
For me, it's the letter C.
Okay, now, question. Problems with theories. Was it mentioned at the beginning or at the end? Or in the whole duration of the lecture? Was it at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end? Yes, tell me, guys.
For my case, I had like in the beginning.
In the beginning.
Yes, because she
Because?
started giving solutions.
Okay. She gave problems and solutions to the problems. Okay. So the correct answer is C. That is correct. She talks about theories, then problems with theories on the creation of the moon. Okay, so the correct answer is C. Can we consider A, how the moon formed after a giant object impacted the earth? First of all, is it talked about? Is it talked about?
Yes, it's tough.
But it's not the whole lecture. Yes, yeah, that is important. Even in reading, they will give you many sentences. Then they ask you, what is the main idea of this topic? What is the main idea of the topic? Now, there may be many ideas, but they are only talking about a small percentage, a small proportion of the lecture. Part A is correct. They talked about the formation of the moon after a giant object impacted the earth, but it is not the topic of the whole lecture. The whole lecture is talking about theories and their own problems. Theories on the creation of the moon. Okay. How is the lecture organized? Tell me the correct option, guys. How is the lecture organized? A, B, C, D.
Letter C.
Letter C. Why, Martita? Give me a justification.
Because they give 3 reasons and she say finally 2 similarities more than connect in the past.
Okay. Yeah, anyone with a different opinion? Give me your opinions, guys. Someone has said C. I want a different opinion.
For me, it's letter D.
I have letter A.
Mildred is having A. Why, Mildred? I need a justification.
Okay. Accordingly to the lecturer or to the professor, she was asking the students the questions, comparing, meaning that this person had already discussed the work previously with the students, and now she was giving, let me say, she was adding in some more ideas that she needed to fix in the conversation. That's what I think. It's
Okay, she first talked about previous information, then she talked about new information.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Someone said option B.
I say option D.
Yeah, D. Why D? Why D, Maria Acosta? Why D? I need an explanation.
Because, but I consider that she didn't introduce any new idea. So it's letter D because she asked students what was the last topic about, and she establishes some clarifications about the theories.
Okay, isn't that option A?
No, it's letter D for me because I said that in option A, the information is about the previous learned class is introduced, but it's mentioned, but there is no new idea.
Okay. Yeah, anyone with a different opinion? Edith, what do you think? What option are you going with? Open the microphone, open the microphone.
Over here, I am lost.
You're lost. You don't have any option. Yes, please.
Here, between C and D, yeah? Because over here was compares theories about the moon with other objects in space. Yeah, with the C and the D, yeah. Why I mentioned this one? Because in the book, it is talk about the theories, yeah. But A and B, no. C and D, I am, but I'm not sure which one of those.
Okay. Okay. We are having a stalemate. Yes, Mildred, you want to say something?
I wanted to talk about this one where there is a lady who said about the letter D, because here we have something, the historical account, yes?
Yeah.
And then we also have information previously learned.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting confused somehow, somewhere.
Okay. Should I start with the explanation? Okay. At the beginning of the lecture, if you had the lady, well, she told students We talked about 3 possible solutions, more like theories, meaning from the past. Yeah, then she reviewed, and then she started asking students to review what they had studied before she introduced something new. Which of the options A and D fits into that context?
Letter A.
Letter A, correct.
Now I got the idea, because she discussed the Captcha Theory, the Fission Theory, the System Theory, and she introduced the G and impact one.
Correct. She started with something old, then she introduced a new idea. Yeah, so the correct option is A. Discuss previously learned information before introducing a new idea. So we are going with option A. Okay, so let's continue. What are some of the problems with the Captcha theory? 2 problems with the Captcha theory. 2 problems with the Captcha theory. Did you hear about the Captcha theory? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, what were the problems with the Captcha theory?
B and D.
B and D. More plausible. By the way, plausible means possible. It is more possible that the Earth and the Moon were never connected, so they were always separate. The Moon will have a stranger orbital path if they were captured by the Earth. Okay, Kerry is taking B and D. Okay, anyone with a different opinion? Anyone with a different opinion? 2 problems with the Captcha theory. I told you, when they are discussing something, they will say, and then we have the Captcha theory. First, blah, 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 blah. Secondly, blah, 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 blah. Did you hear any problems with the Captcha theory? No. So on that question, you get 0. You accept that you have 0.
No, I have D. I choose D
and
B.
D and B, like Kerry.
It could be D for me.
B, okay, we need 2 options.
Because in some time was mentioned that Moon was located in the galaxy.
The Moon was located in the galaxy. When it was connected to the Earth, because they are saying in B, it is possible that the Earth and Moon were never connected. They were separate. Then D, the Moon will have a stranger orbital path if it were captured by the Earth. What is the correct one? We have B and D. Martita, which would you choose?
I don't know, teacher, because in this part I didn't take notes, so that's why I'm a little confused.
Okay, remember they talked about theories on the formation of the Moon. So you didn't take any notes on the Captcha theory. You didn't take any notes.
I have here scientists develop of the original of the Moon impact.
Okay, do you have any information about Captcha theory? Did you write any notes about Captcha theory?
No.
No. Did anyone make notes on the Captcha theory? I want you to go through your notes. Did you make any notes on the Captcha theory? Anyone wrote notes on the Captcha theory?
I have some notes. I have Moon was located in the galaxy, capture object happened, similarity to the Earth and Moon connection.
Okay. So from that, you conclude by saying that the correct option is what and what, Mariam Acosta?
I'm not sure. I think it's letter D.
You're saying it is D. Okay. People are not giving me answers. I'm gonna give you only one answer. That is D.
Mr. Casita, I say B and D.
B and D. Okay. On the options that you have given me, only D is correct. B, no. The Earth and Moon were never connected.
Then the second one?
Fear.
The second one is C. The moon has a lot of energy. It cannot be captured by the Earth. It couldn't have been captured by the Earth. You know, this is called the Captcha Theory. The Captcha Theory says the moon was captured by the Earth, but that is not possible because the moon has got a lot of energy. So it couldn't be captured by the Earth. It couldn't be captured by the Earth. Okay. So it is CD or DC. The order doesn't matter. Okay. Which theory is most likely true? That is an easier question. Of the 4 theories, which one is more likely to be true?
D.
I beg your pardon, Kerry?
D.
B, the giant impact hypothesis?
No, D.
D, the Captcha Theory.
The
Okay. You're saying D. Guys, what of the theories? Which theory is most likely to be true?
Capture.
Capture.
Captcha Theory.
Someone is saying capture, okay? Edith, Diana, Janet, which is the correct theory?
It could be letter B.
Is that a question or an answer?
Is a possible answer.
It could be letter B. B for boy.
Yeah, B for boat.
Okay. Did you write down any notes about it, or did you hear anything? Do you have anything in memory about it?
I have a giant impact hypothesis, size of, I don't know, moons grow natural.
Okay, this is what they say. First of all, the correct option is B. B for boy. Why? This is what they say. Other theories have many problems. The Captcha Theory, the sister theory, and the fission theory. Other theories have many problems. However, the giant impact hypothesis has solutions to the problems of all the other theories. That is what the professor said. And that giant impact hypothesis was agreed upon by all the scientists because it answers all the questions from the previous theories. Do you understand my argument? All the other theories, the fission theory has problems, the sister theory has problems, the Captcha theory has problems. However, the giant impact hypothesis, saying that the moon and the earth collided, has solutions to all the problems of the previous 3 theories. Okay. So the correct option is option B. Question 5. What does the professor imply about the sister theory? What does the professor imply about the sister theory? Do we understand the meaning of imply? Guys, do we understand the meaning of imply? Yes or no?
It refers.
Infer.
Yeah, it is the same as infer, correct. Now, what is infer? A person may be confused. What is infer? Let me give you an example. I'm going to give you an example of a sentence, and I want you to infer, to make an inference about it. Countries with many vaccinated citizens have less corona cases. Let me call it COVID. Countries with many vaccinated citizens have less COVID cases. What can you imply about that statement? What conclusion can you make from that statement? Vaccines work or they don't work?
Vaccines work.
Why? Why do you say they work?
Because all the citizens are vaccinated.
So when citizens are vaccinated,
there is less COVID.
There is less COVID.
Yeah, the cases of less COVID.
Yeah, when many people are vaccinated, the rate of spreading is lesser. Yes, people can become sick, but a very low rate. So what does the professor imply about the sister theory? Modern astronomers don't believe it's correct. Explains why the moon is made up of the same material as the Earth. The density of the moon compared to the Earth proves it's true. It was less popular than the Captcha and Fission theories. Which one? What does the professor imply, guys? Answer me, tell me. Yes, what does the professor imply?
It was less popular than the Captcha and Fission theory.
It was less popular than the Captcha and Fission theory, okay? Kerry, any opinion, Kerry, on that?
Maybe the letter A.
Letter A, modern astronomers don't believe this theory is correct, okay? Okay. Mariam Acosta, do you have an opinion?
I don't know.
You have no option.
Because I have just believed that there are other moons is the just one node I have. So I don't know what is the correct answer.
Okay, you have not, okay. And now when people don't have opinions, I don't normally, someone said A. Who said A? Kerry, yeah, Kerry. Why A, Kerry? Was it Kerry? Was it Mariam Acosta? Who said A?
Well, of course, I don't have it about, I have the last one, astronomers.
Yeah, what did she say about astronomers? What did she say about astronomers?
Because they believe that is not what's true about the other ones.
In the past, they believe it wasn't true. Correct. Yeah, the correct option is A. Astronomers do not believe this theory is correct. In the past, they did, but right now, they don't. Why? Because it lacked evidence to show that really the Earth and the moon were together like sisters. They don't have the same material. The composition is totally different. So astronomers don't believe the sister theory is okay. Okay, so the final question. Why is the giant impact hypothesis problematic? What is the problem with the giant impact hypothesis, guys? You wrote notes. What is the problem with the giant impact hypothesis? What is the problem with it?
D.
D, there is no way to prove it is correct. Okay. Martita, do you have an opinion?
What is the also problematic?
No. What is the problem with the giant impact hypothesis?
Contribution of the moons.
Yes. I'm listening.
The impact. No. The moon is too small for such an impact.
The moon is too small for such an impact. Okay. Maria Acosta, your opinion?
Yes, I also agree that it's B.
You agree it is B. Edith, any opinion? What is the problem with the giant hypothesis, giant impact hypothesis? The voice is very low.
For me, this is the D. There is no way to prove it is correct.
There is no way to prove it's correct. So you agree with Kerry. Sarmiento, Diana, what is the correct option? What is the problem with the giant impact hypothesis?
For me, letter B, the moon is too small for such an impact.
The moon is too small for such an impact. Sarmiento, any opinion?
Same. Letter B, the moon is too small for such an impact.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The correct option is D. Although the giant impact is supposedly to be the most viable, but scientists cannot prove it is true. So the correct option is D. It is the most believed theory, but they don't know how to prove it is correct. Yeah, how many minutes do we have? Oh, we are 8 minutes late. Okay, I'm gonna share practice materials with you guys. Okay, I'm gonna share practice materials with you. Now, there is an exam called the TOEFL exam. Okay, the TOEFL exam has got some relationship with the iTEP exam. Remember, listening has 3 parts: short conversation, long conversation, and the lecture. Okay, so you can visit this website. This website is not for iTEP. No, it's not a website. It's a YouTube page. It is not for iTEP. It is for TOEFL. Come when you visit here. This is important, guys. Select lectures and long conversations. Lectures and long conversations only. Okay, let me share the page here. A moment. Let me share the page. And when I give you the page, you open it so that you don't lose it. It will remain open on your computer. Click on the link on your computer down there. Then it will open. You can practice anytime. That is 1. That is resource number 1. Resource number 2 is this one. TED. Now, for TOEFL, the first one is for exams. This is not for exams. This is for you to practice listening. You are not going to do any questions. Just listen and take notes. Okay? So that is it. That is another link. Then this one also. Then, still, the other website, it is here. It is here. It is here. Just a second. Just a second. Just a second. Okay. Come here. We have long conversation. Okay, long conversation. Practice the long conversation. The link is there. Then after practicing long conversation, come and look for a lecture in English. You do the test, you get results, take notes. Remember, important. This is important, guys. This is important. Do the practice under exam conditions. What do I mean? Listen first and do not look at the questions before listening. Do you understand, guys? Guys, do you understand?
Yes, teacher.
Do you have access to the links that I have sent you? I'm gonna put them in the WhatsApp group. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna put them in our WhatsApp group. Please practice. Now, how many lectures do we have here? We have 66 lectures. Wow. You have a lot of material for practice. 66. You can say, I'm gonna do.
And
yes, Maria Acosta.
And also we are available to get the questions material about that listening.
Your internet doesn't want you to talk to me. I have not heard anything. Please repeat the question. Repeat the question, Maria.
I was asking if we... Okay, now will you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, the question was if we have get access to the questions about that material, that listening material.
The one that we have done today together in class?
And no, about that you are sharing on the screen.
Yes, you have access. You just click on the link in the chat and you have access.
But about the questions, we have also access?
Yes, you just come to the test. Let's say test 58. Let me show you something. Test 58. I have my notebook already. My notebook is ready. I'm going to make notes. Just a second, just a second.
Listen to part of a talk in a business class.
It is not very clear. Let's select another one. Let's select test 20, maybe.
Listen to part of a radio report about a scientific advance. Did you know that vegetables can be tricked into growing in climates they're not accustomed to?
When you finish, listen to the questions and select the correct answer. Is that okay, guys? So you have resources for practice. You have no excuse. By the way, guys, this is important. This is important. No matter how good your teacher is, no matter how good the resources you have, if you don't practice, whatever you do is nothing. It will not bring you results. Results come from practice, repetition, practice, repetition, practice, and repetition. You can decide to do 2 lectures a day, 2 conversations a day, and 4 small conversations a day. The resources are very many. You cannot exhaust them. Now we have 66 lectures. If you do 2 lectures every day, you need 2 months to complete them all. So it is really important, guys, that you practice on your own. Okay? I cannot stress this well enough. Practice, practice, practice. Everything that is difficult to you, it will become easier with practice. And when you're practicing listening, guys, okay? When you're practicing listening, practice all parts. Okay, this website here, which I have showed you, it has got, a moment, it has got short conversations also. Okay, short conversations, they are 74. You can say, let me do this one. You click on it, then remember to listen before you look at the question.
The sign says this is reserved parking only, and your student parking sticker has expired too.
I was just running in to turn in a paper, officer. I haven't been here more than 5 minutes.
What can be inferred about the woman?
Yeah, if the voice is not clear, you go to another one. So that is it, guys. Are we going to practice?
Yes.
In reality or just in thinking?
Yes, reality.
In intention.
We are trying. We are trying.
Guys, passing an exam is hard. But getting a 0 is harder. Okay, yeah. So practicing is hard. Getting a 0 is harder. So you choose. If you practice, I'm very sure, if you practice, things will become very easy. Imagine if you have been practicing with lectures, when you start answering questions in the 11-second conversations, it will be very easy. It will be just a walk in the park. Because now you know how to take notes, the conversation will no longer be difficult for you because the conversation is between 2 to 3 minutes. The lecture is for 4 minutes. So the conversation becomes easier. Practice more lectures than other parts of listening. I'm not saying that practice lectures only. No, 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 no. Practice more lectures because that is the most complicated part for students. Again, let me say this again. When you get a bad grade, be patient with yourself. Continue practicing and practicing and practicing. Remember, after next week, you are going to do a diagnostic test to see your progress. If you want that diagnostic test to help you, practice now to know your strength and your weaknesses. You can say, I'm gonna have a day for practicing listening. I'll have a day for practicing grammar. I'll have a day for practicing writing. I'll have a day for practicing speaking. Tomorrow, we have a class on speaking. After that, we will have exhausted all the parts. Tomorrow, we are going in for speaking. It is easy, it's not so difficult. So the rest, the work is in your hands, guys. It is not my responsibility. it is your responsibility. Yes, I may have explained the skills, but putting them in practice is you. You can take the animals to the lake, but you cannot force them to drink water. Okay? Yeah, I can take you to the lake, but I cannot get your head and force it into the water. That is you. The practice is supposed to be done by you. And as I've told you, it's hard. It's not simple. It's not gonna be just a piece of cake. It's hard, but as you practice, you perfect, you become more perfect, then you can get a grade that you want. The pain you go through when you're practicing is less than the happiness you have when you get a certificate with a C1. The happiness you have when you receive your certificate with a C1 is bigger than the pain you go through when you're practicing. Okay, guys? Is that okay? Yeah, I was trying to motivate you. Let me think I have done my purpose, yeah?
Yeah, teacher.
But it remains on your hands. The ball is in your hands. The work is supposed to be done by you. No one else. You. No one else but you. So, goodbye. Practice with authentic material. See you tomorrow in the speaking class. Have a good night. I'm sorry for taking 22 minutes of your time. I was telling you something which was very important for you. Okay, goodbye, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Ciao, everyone.
See you tomorrow, Casita.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye, guys.
Good night.
Goodbye. I'm gonna share a link for you to practice for today for one of the questions. Okay, I'm gonna put it in WhatsApp. Yeah. Goodbye, guys. Goodbye. Ciao, everyone.
Casita, mommy.
Okay.